Dara's heart pounded as he dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the razor-sharp claws of Obalu. The monstrous creature snarled, its glowing ember eyes locked onto him as it lunged again, faster this time. Dara rolled to his feet, drawing an arrow and firing it in one smooth motion. The arrow flew true but passed harmlessly through the creature's shadowy form, embedding itself in a tree behind. "Foolish boy," Obalu roared, his voice shaking the ancient trees of the Forbidden Woods. "You cannot defeat me." Dara clutched the charm hanging from his neck, its faint glow the only thing keeping the suffocating darkness at bay. His mind raced as he scanned the clearing for a way out. The mask lay behind Obalu, its surface gleaming with an eerie light. He knew he had to get it back, or his village would be doomed. Summoning his courage, Dara shouted, "You'll have to do better than that, Shadow Beast," and sprinted toward the mask. Obalu howled in fury, his claws tearing into the earth as he charged to intercept. This was not how Dara had envisioned the night would go. But before we get to how he faced a cursed being of legend, let us go back to how it all began. Long ago, the village of Shaka thrived under the protection of the Mask of the Vanished, a sacred artifact believed to house the spirit of a hero who had once saved them from a monstrous foe. This hero, known only as the Guardian, had faced a beast of darkness that threatened to destroy their way of life. After vanquishing the creature, the hero disappeared, leaving the mask behind as a symbol of his sacrifice and an unbroken connection to his people. Generations passed, and the mask was guarded by the village chief, displayed only during the annual moon festival to honor the hero's legacy. But over time, the villagers grew complacent, treating the mask more as a tradition than a sacred relic. One fateful night, as preparations for the festival were underway, the mask was stolen. The village erupted in panic. The elders warned that without the mask, the spirit of the Guardian would no longer protect them. Amid the chaos was Dara, a young hunter who lived on the outskirts of Shaka. Dara was a solitary figure, tall and wiry with sharp features that reflected his quiet, observant nature. His dark skin blended with the shadows of the forest, and his eyes, sharp and amber-colored, always seemed to be searching. Though skilled with a bow and known for his bravery in facing wild animals, Dara was an outsider. Many saw him as strange because he preferred the company of trees and animals over the noisy bustle of the village. Despite his isolation, Dara cared deeply for Shaka. He had lost his parents to a sickness as a child, and the village had raised him. Many treated him like an afterthought. The forest had become his true home, and it was in its embrace that he learned to survive, to trek, and to listen. When the elders called for someone to retrieve the mask, no one stepped forward. Fear gripped the villagers, for the thief had fled into the Forbidden Woods, a place of dark legends. The elders spoke of a creature that lived there, a cursed being known as Obalu, the Shadow Stalker. Obalu was said to have once been a human sorcerer who sought power beyond comprehension. He delved into forbidden magic, calling upon the spirits of the forest and bending them to his will. But the spirits, angered by his arrogance, cursed him. His body twisted into a grotesque form, a mix of man and beast, with jagged claws, glowing ember-like eyes, and a voice that sounded like the wind howling through dead trees. Bound to the shadows, Obalu could never leave the woods, but he fed on fear and despair, growing stronger with each passing century. Yet, what the villagers did not know was that Obalu's transformation was not just a punishment. It was a result of a failed attempt to seize the power of the Mask of the Vanished. The mask, imbued with the spirit of the Guardian, was not merely a symbol of protection, but a source of immense power. The Guardian's spirit, bound to the mask, was a reservoir of light and strength capable of warding off darkness. Obalu, in his desperate quest for dominion over the spirits, sought to claim that power for himself. When the Guardian had defeated the Beast of Darkness, his own power had been sealed within the mask, and Obalu knew that if he could possess it, he could break the curse that bound him to the woods. The mask's magic could restore him to his original form, human, whole, and free to roam once more. It could amplify his dark sorcery, giving him dominion over the forest spirits and allowing him to escape the eternal shadow that had imprisoned him. When Dara heard the elders speak of Obalu, his heart quickened. The stories had frightened him as a boy, but now they stirred something else, determination. The mask could not be left in the hands of such a creature. "I will go," Dara said, stepping forward. The elders exchanged worried glances but had no other choice. They gave Dara a charm, said to protect against evil spirits, and sent him into the woods with prayers for his safety. The forbidden woods were nothing like the forest Dara knew. The trees were unnaturally tall, their branches weaving into a canopy so thick that no moonlight could penetrate. Shadows seemed alive, shifting and stretching like predators waiting to strike. Whispers filled the air, though no one was visible, and the ground felt cold and damp beneath his feet. Dara followed the faint trail left by the thief, broken branches, disturbed leaves, and small traces of fabric snagged on thorns. He moved quickly but silently, his bow in hand and his senses alert. The further he went, the heavier the air became, as if the forest itself was warning him to turn back. Hours later, he stumbled upon a clearing where an ancient shrine stood. The stones were blackened with age, covered in symbols that pulsed faintly with a sickly green light. At the center of the shrine stood Obalu, clutching the mask of the vanished. Obalu was a terrifying sight. His body was hunched, his limbs unnaturally long and covered in wiry, dark fur. His face was a horrifying blend of human and beast. His mouth stretched wide with jagged teeth, his eyes burned with an otherworldly glow, and two twisted horns jutted from his head. His claws, sharp as knives, flexed as he ran them over the mask's surface. "I've waited so long for this," Obalu rasped, his voice low and full of hunger. "The mask is mine. It will restore me, make me whole again. I will walk the earth as I once did, human, unbound by this cursed form." Dara stepped forward, bow raised. "Return the mask," he demanded. Obalu turned, his voice a low growl. "You dare challenge me, little hunter? The mask belongs to me now. Your people have forgotten its power. Why should I not claim it?" Dara held his ground, though his hands trembled slightly. "The mask is not yours to take. It belongs to Shaka. I will bring it back." Obalu laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the clearing. "Very well. If you want it, prove yourself worthy." With a wave of his clawed hand, Obalu conjured illusions that filled the clearing. Dara saw his village in flames, the villagers crying out as they fled from monstrous creatures. He saw himself standing frozen, helpless to save them. The vision shook Dara, but he gritted his teeth and reminded himself of the forest's lessons. "This is not real," he shouted, tearing his gaze away. "You will not control me." Enraged, Obalu lunged at him, claws swiping through the air. Dara leapt aside and fired an arrow, but it passed through Obalu's shadowy form. Realizing that brute force would not work, Dara pulled out the charm the elders had given him. "Spirits of the forest," Dara called out, holding the charm high. "I seek not to destroy but to protect. Help me." The charm began to glow, its light growing brighter until it bathed the clearing in warmth. Obalu let out an ear-splitting scream as a light struck him. His shadowy form began to dissolve, and the mask fell from his grasp. Before disappearing completely, Obalu's voice echoed one last time. You are strong, hunter, but beware. Darkness will always return. Dara approached the mask, now lying on the ground, and picked it up. As he held it, a calm presence washed over him. He felt the spirit of the guardian, whispering words of approval and gratitude. When Dara returned to Shaka at dawn, the first light of day caught the edges of the mask of the vanished, gleaming in his hand. The villagers, gathered in the square for the morning festival preparations, turned in astonishment as they saw him emerge from the shadows of the trees. At first, there was a stunned silence. Then, the chief, his face filled with awe and relief, stepped forward. "Dara," the chief called out, his voice breaking the stillness. "You have returned. You have done it." The villagers, who had watched Dara from afar, their eyes filled with doubt and fear, now saw him as a true hero of their village. One by one, they knelt before him, whispering prayers of gratitude and awe. The chief, moved by the hero's bravery, bowed deeply. "You have saved us, Dara. You have brought the mask back, and with it, our protector." The women of the village, who had once whispered behind his back about his solitude, now embraced him with open arms. Children ran to him, their faces shining with admiration, eager to touch the mask that had once been a May legend. The elders, who had sent him on his perilous quest, stood together, smiling with pride. As word of Dara's victory spread, the entire village gathered in the square for a grand feast. The air was filled with the sound of drums, the songs of gratitude, and the joyful shouts of celebration. The people danced, their feet moving in rhythm with the beating of drums that echoed through the village. The sky was lit with the glow of lanterns, and the trees seemed to sway in harmony with the jubilant voices of the people. The village had never been so alive with celebration. For Dara, this was a moment of transformation. Once an outsider, he now stood at the heart of the village he had saved, embraced as a hero by the people of Shaka.